over your competitors. NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. The station is on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46, StarTimes channel 101, and Free TV channel 703. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods, and
Once the year is rounding up, around late November up to February, there's usually this dry, cold wind that originates from the Sahara Desert in North Africa towards the West African countries called Harmattan. Although the Harmattan brings desert-like weather conditions, it lowers the humidity, dissipates cloud cover, prevents rainfall formation, and sometimes creates big clouds of dust, which can result in dust storms or sandstorms. Humidity drops to as low as 15%, which results spontaneously in nose bleeding for some people. The Harmattan also has adverse effects on human health and comfort. There is a wide spread of airborne diseases coupled with the dryness of human skin. Small children are mostly dehydrated. Nevertheless, there is the good side of the Harmattan, such as the lowering of environmental temperature, and some crops enjoy the cold season. Now that the Harmattan is here again, what are some of the environmental and health issues associated with the Harmattan? How best can these issues be handled, especially in Nigeria? We will attempt to provide answers to these and other questions on Nigeria Today. I am Lydia Odije-Ochi. Glad to have you. Joining me in the studio to discuss issues in Harmattan is a waste and sanitation expert, Yusuf Rigasa. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you once again. And joining us via Zoom is a consultant dermatologist and allergologist. University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, Dr. Perpetua Ibekwe. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Now let me begin with Yusuf. Could you enumerate some of the environmental issues associated with the Harmattan and how seriously Nigerians should guard against their effects?
The Harmattan is a very important component of our environmental dynamics. You know, typically in sub-Saharan Africa, we have normally two seasons, the rainy season and the dry season. Some people try to, propose that Harmattan is probably the third season. So, and during this Harmattan, which normally starts from November to the middle of March, we experience, the lowering of temperature, as you have said. But the Harmattan is a cold, dry wind that normally, as you mentioned, come from the Sahara all the way to the shores of, to the West African shores. So, and the concentration of these particulates or dust, as you said, normally decreases from the frontline states, say Sokoto, and then as you move down to the coastline of Lagos and Port Harcourt, and it normally changes the environmental dynamics, not only for human beings but also for biodiversity as well. But what most of us usually recall about it for generations is that it is not only cold and windy and dusty. It comes along with certain diseases such as dryness of the throat, and as you mentioned, the medical person will explain about the allergies. Myself personally, I'm allergic to dust, so normally during Harmattan I usually take antihistamines. But if you drive, you need to be very vigilant because the visibility usually decreases by more than 90% in certain areas. So you need to put on your emergency lights. And if you're a pilot or you fly a lot, this Harmattan can equally, actually distorts the flight patterns within Nigeria and some other West African countries. But the good side of it is that the temperature will reduce to such an extent that you don't need a fan, you don't need AC, and it makes you a little bit comfortable. So we use less energy, at least during the Hamatan. So I believe it's good for man and environment if we put the proper safeguards, in place.
Thank you. Doctor, suddenly, over the past 2 weeks, everybody's coughing, sneezing, fever, and of course, as a result of the dust, dry nose, coughing, cold comes with this season. Are they not similar with COVID-19 symptoms? How can we differentiate Hamatan-induced health issues from that of COVID-19?
Well, for like the previous speaker has said, most people that tend to come down with upper respiratory tract infection at this period is something that has been happening. So it's not something new to them. Unlike COVID-19, that is something new. One of the ways that we could differentiate COVID-19 from the upper respiratory tract infections or flu, as you say, is the sneezing part. Most times, COVID-19 does not come with sneezing. So they have difficulty with breathing. That also you don't see much with flu. So you could use those two as one of the differentiating factors. You don't have much of cough with the flu, and you don't have sneezing with COVID-19. So you could differentiate that. Then apart from the fact that even though someone might not be febrile, that's have fever, they might lose their sense of smell. That also can be used to differentiate flu from COVID-19, in the sense that COVID-19, you can have a loss of smell, but you didn't have any symptoms of upper respiratory tract before that. Unlike that of upper respiratory tract, where you've been sneezing and you have blockage of nostrils, which resulted in your inability to smell.
Okay. Now, I'm also discussing with a friend, and she was saying, I'm coughing and I'm sneezing, but it's not productive. What do you say to that?
It's not productive.
No.
Yes, most times with COVID-19, you don't have a productive cough. For upper respiratory tract, yes, you can, because of what we call the rhinorrhea. That's there's inflammation, active inflammation in the nostrils that can cause that, which is not what you find with COVID-19.
Okay, let me still stay with you. What are some of the health issues associated with Hamatan, and how serious are they?
Well, Hamatan, let me just say, is something that we are used to. So it can present in different ways for different people. Those that are young and those that are older. But like you well illuminated, you have this heavy sunlight. Okay, so you have low cloud cover. So because of that, we feel the effect of the ultraviolet rays of this sun very much during the Hamatan. So for those type of ones, you have people that have photosensitivity diseases that are exacerbated by sunlight will probably have worsening of their symptoms around this period. Those people that have dry skin will receive exacerbation of their skin diseases around this period. For those that have kidney problem, for instance, they are prone to dehydration, so they can have exacerbation. So what am I essentially saying? For those that have precondition, Hamatan is usually not so good for them. But for the healthy ones, I think it's something people can roll through. Apart from the upper respiratory tract infections we've seen, sometimes it might not be due to allergy. It might just be a virus that is going out, because there's a difference between the two. You could also have, I've talked about dryness of the skin because I'm a dermatologist, so I'll think more of the skin.
Okay.
But you could have other people exacerbating different conditions depending on what they have.
It's okay.
Like I've said of renal and even diabetes, hypertension too can be exacerbated now because dehydration can lead to increase in blood pressure. So all those things are, at least let me just say, those group of people should be the ones that should watch out more during this period,
It's okay.
unlike the healthy ones that can always take care of themselves.
Okay, Mr. Rigasa, one environmental issue I'd want you to talk more about, aside poor visibility, which you earlier mentioned for travelers, air, road users. Let's talk about fire outbreaks.
Yes, because it's windy, and normally you find out that because this is something that normally happens every year. The Hamilton for 2021 is a bit more severe than the one we experienced, say, in 2020. And we have NIMET, we have other agencies that are normally into the business of, telling us the weather patterns across the country. It is up to them to deploy the early warning systems across probably the state capitals, 36 state capitals, and Abuja. You should be updating people on the speed of the wind, maybe the visibility, just like you normally do at the end of every news, that these are the way environmental parameters are varying during Harmattan, so that people will be conscious not to start a fire. This is a very dangerous time for people to start a fire outdoor without the necessary safeguard. Even if you have the safeguard, it's better not to start it, let alone starting a fire without the necessary safeguard. So it is good that the fire management or federal fire service, the state emergency services, and the emergency services at local government level, and for those communities that are prepared for this kind of emergencies, this is the time for them to activate such preparedness and be vigilant, such that whatever is going to happen during Harmattan, it is going to be something that the citizens and communities can actually manage. So it's time for vigilant. I've not seen any alert from any federal or state agency, but I believe that this is the right time for them, especially those in the frontline states, from Sokoto down to Borno, Yobe, Katsina, Jigawa. They need to look at the speed, wind speed. They need to look at the dosage, the load of particulates in the air, because I believe, although it's necessary to wear mask, to prevent COVID, but it's also very important, during Harmattan for everybody to also wear masks, because this dust, most of them are below 5 micrometer, and these are the kinds of particulate matter that are highly dangerous. When you breathe them in, they hardly come out. So it's very easy for you to get infected and have pollution-related problems. So let's keep on wearing the mask for COVID and for Harmattan, and let's also be vigilant and alert at the winds as they blow through our residence and business places.
It's okay. Actually, in some parts of the country, this is a time for some hunters to go out into the bushes, take advantage of the dry bushes, and start a fire because they want to catch their game. What would you say about that?
Yes, if you want to catch, we can't say, in some places, we want to preserve our biodiversity. We don't want to be killing our rats, our rabbits. We want to preserve them for future generations. But in a place where the population, has become, a threat to human existence, yes, some kind of hunting can be allowed. But then there are rules and regulations for hunting, and it is up for the rangers. We have rangers in the forest. This is the right time that they need to come out and also guide the local hunters that this is the right way to hunt. You don't have to start a fire. Some people may regard it as fun, but I don't think it's fun, chasing a rat, out of a burning forest. It's better to use other means, and it's more joyful, more fun when you use other means to catch your wildlife. So let the rangers come out and do their job the right way.
Okay, let's pause here for a while. We'll go for a break, and when we come back, we'll talk more.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms: For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24,
news and more news.
Welcome back. If you've just tuned in, you're still on time. The program is Nigeria Today, and we have been discussing environmental and health issues in Harmattan with two very experienced health, waste and sanitation professionals. Now, let me go back to Dr. Perpetua. Nose bleeding, for instance, is one health issue, very common during Harmattan. Why is it common now, and is it a very serious health issue we should worry about?
I didn't hear the disease you mentioned.
Yes, I said the Harmattan also, we notice there's a high incidence of nose bleeding. Is it a health issue that we should be really concerned about?
Yes, it's a concern that we health concern that we should be worried about. Because of the dryness of the weather, the nose tend to be dry, and the scalps from someone that has had upper respiratory tract infection can gather there, and then someone that is speaking it can actually rupture the vessels there, and then it can cause bleeding. It's actually very scary, but sometimes it's not so severe. But for those that have elevated blood pressure, they can actually lose a lot of blood from that. And just to add, concerning the period now, the bush burning, that we are having a high incidence of Lassa fever, which is raging the country right now. So those that are going to the bushes to look for rats and co should be wary. Have a high incidence of Lassa fever, and usually around this period till January, February. This is also the period for meningitis. So those that are not vaccinated, we're in the meningitis zone, should also take care of that. They have symptoms of headache, neck stiffness, fever. Please do not go to the pharmacist to treat malaria. Come to the hospital so that you'll be well evaluated because of the consequences of having meningitis.
Okay. Now, Yusuf,
Yeah.
how will you assess the attitude of Nigerians generally towards the environment, and in what ways is the environment fighting back as a result of our attitude?
Environmental awareness is poor because we are not fully aware of what we call environmental responsibility, right from schools through our communities and even tertiary education. We are not properly inducted as per what our environmental responsibilities should be. And if we want actually to become sustainable, to be as conscious as the citizens of the developed world, we need to change our curricula to reflect our environmental values, and we try to inculcate the spirit of this environmental responsibility into various strata of our national life. And this key ingredient of sustainability is what is missing in Nigeria, most African countries, and that is why people can actually harm the environment without them actually knowing what they are doing. When you harm the environment, you are not only harming yourself and the community, at the same time you are harming future generation as well. Now the doctor is saying that Lassa fever is around. We have the habit of we enjoy bushmeat a lot, so this is the best time to say no to bushmeat, and probably for the next 2-3 months, so that we conserve our rats and rabbits and at the same time stay healthy. We need to teach our children, the environmental values, the environmental assets that we have, because some of these rats, you don't actually find them elsewhere. And if you ask a typical man, even from Benue, how many species of rats are in Benue, they may, because they interact with rats very well, they may find it easier to answer than other Nigerians. In Sokoto, for example, we call rat kusu. But most Nigerians don't know the various species of rats and rabbits that we have. And that is why they are not always conscious. We see people selling them, by the roadside. Actually, they are selling our future. So we need to be conscious of our environmental assets and our environmental responsibility. That is the only way to sustainability.
Okay, let's also talk about waste management. This is one area we have not gotten right. What's your sincere opinion on how best to manage our waste? And what could be the role of government and the private sector?
We'll never get waste management right until we get our environmental responsibilities right. What is happening right now is that citizens are trying to perform the duties of government. Government is trying to perform the duties of citizens. Citizens are trying to perform the duties of business. So everybody wants to, do another man's mandate. Somebody has to come in and say, look, you citizen, this is what you do. Local government, this is what you do. State government, this is what you do. Business people, this is what you do. But every day in Abuja, we wake up, we see the waste pickers at our own dustbins picking. They are far more responsible and far more conscious of the amount of money that is in our bins than us, the people that are actually generating them. So I believe that we have to go back and start from, defining roles and responsibility in waste management. That is the first step to getting it right.
Okay. Now, Dr. Perpetua, let's talk about other health issues like asthma, tuberculosis, coughing, and dry skin, also associated with this season. Aside from being prevalent this season, what are some of the preventive measures?
For asthma, one of the things is that the patient should be compliant with their medication. That's the inhaler, depending on the severity, the medication that the doctor would have given to him or her. They should try to avoid triggers. They should try to know what those triggers are, because most times an asthmatic attack is triggered by something. And during this period, you can have high index of house dust mites that could cause that. So probably they take care of the rugs and the carpets in their houses, or check their beds. So do an allergy test to know what that is. For those that have tuberculosis, tuberculosis is associated with chronic cough. So it's not something that just comes up during this period. Someone must have been coughing for at least 2 to 3 months. For those ones, but of course, the etiquette comes in. There's this habit you see around a lot. People just cough and spit as they walk along the road. I think that is really unhygienic and harmful to other people. So for someone that spits out and pours it out there with tuberculosis, is liable to spread it to someone that's an innocent, let me just use innocent bystander. So once there's a cough, you have sputum, try to dispose of the sputum hygienically. Of course, we've been taught during this COVID era how to cough. You don't just open your mouth and cough out. You have to either use your bent elbow or you use a handkerchief, and then you wash your hand almost immediately. Someone notices that they are coughing, this is their responsibility to seek treatment. The treatment, I think, is still free. Just the test is also very either if the cost for the test is minimal or almost free. So you should have that responsibility of getting themselves treated, because once someone with tuberculosis is not treated, the tendency to spread it
is
to
there.
Your loved ones, to those around you, is quite high.
It's okay. Thank you. Quickly, Yusuf, your advice to individuals and policymakers on environmental issues generally.
Yes, I think there is a new aspect of environmental management. It's called environmental politics, and we need to raise the environmental performance and environmental governance to the level of environmental politics. Each and every one of our politicians need to have a green agenda. We saw that at COVID 2026 in Glasgow. What do you have for the environment? And it's not only what you have for the economy, what you have for the people. No, we need to know what you have for the environment, because those who have something for the environment are those leaders that we need for the future. I think that is the way forward for all of us.
Thank you so much, Yusuf Rigasa, a waste and sanitation expert. Thank you for your time and expertise.
Thank you for having me.
And an equal measure of thanks must go to Dr. Perpetua Ibekwe, consultant dermatologist and allergologist, University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
This is where we leave it on Nigeria Today. We thank you for watching. Don't forget, you can watch this again alongside other editions on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I'm Lydia Udijochi. Let's do this again next time. Good evening.
Advertising your goods and services on the